So this is the month of July and we are observing stagnating prices, incremental prices. We are observing prices from day 1 of July. मतलब फर्स्ट तारीख से हम लोग को प्राइसेस में इंक्रीमेंटल मिल रहा है. We are observing tremendous amount of incremental in prices. Now what do you understand by incremental? This is the inflation rates. मतलब हर एक चीज़ का दाम बढ़ रहा है, कुछ भी हो, सब्जी मंडी कुछ भी, anything. They have reached at its peak, right? If we observe next thing, what we see is, what are the two major things whose prices are increasing dramatically? If you ask me, the two major things whose prices are increasing dramatically is, number one is stock market, number two is real estate. Correct? एक stock market में if you see it is at its all time high and everyone is tensed about it कि अब क्या होगा, market crash आएगा कि नहीं आएगा. That is the most topic, stock market crash, whether it will get a crash or not. Real estate, if you want to buy any particular real estate, अपने के लिए घर, खुद के लिए घर या फिर rentals के लिए घर, whatever you want to buy, you are observing it to be at its all time high and everyone is saying it will go more high. Real estate सबको बोल रहा है कि और ऊपर जाएगा, stock market सबको बोल रहा है और ऊपर जाएगा. या फिर if you follow any particular YouTuber who are specialists in their own field, they will tell you something, they have their own opinions, they will tell you that this particular market, these persons, they will tell you the markets is gonna have a crash. Markets में क्या आएगा, अभी crash आने वाला है क्योंकि market all time high में है. Everyone has their own opinion on this particular thing. Everyone is trying to predict the market. Every single person is trying to predict the market, whether the market will go up or the market will go down. अब मुझे तो पता है नहीं, but everyone is trying to predict. Everyone has their own opinion about it, right? One thing is common with this particular influencer, that is they will speak about two things: what's going on and what will happen. What's going on मतलब अभी क्या हो रहा है मार्केट में, क्रैश होने वाला है, इतना ज़्यादा महंगा है, those things. And what will happen in the sense future में they are trying to predict the market. Predict in the sense they are trying to say how will the market behave basically. मतलब मार्केट ऊपर जाएगा या फिर नीचे जाएगा. Majority, approximately 80% people are saying market will go down. If you see, इसलिए स्टॉक मार्केट क्रैश का इतने ज़्यादा वीडियोज़ निकाल रहा है, इसलिए मुझे ये टॉपिक में वीडियो निकालना पड़ा, राइट. इफ़ यू मूव ऑन टू हिस्ट्री, आप हिस्ट्री में जाओगे तो इफ़ यू ऑब्जर्व that post COVID, what are the things that happened? Matlab, when I say post COVID, that means after COVID, COVID happened 2019, so plus 5 I would say year, that is 2024. So we are going 5 years ago. If we see 5 years ago, what are the things that changed in this era, right? मतलब क्या क्या चीज़ जो हम लोग के साथ चेंज हुआ है कोविड के बाद, वो cause, how that cause turned into effect and how that effect generated more causes, right? We will be observing every single thing. कोविड के बाद ये सब चीज़ हुआ कैसे, and is it good to happen or is it okay to happen? We are going to observe every single thing that's going to come in. Clear? Now see, the thing that happened after COVID restrictions were lifted off, we saw the intrinsic rise in prices. Then we saw the extreme change in weather में बहुत change देखा हम लोग को. Then we observe wars basically, right? We observe tremendous amount of wars, and this is the thing due to which the entire inflation moved up. Inflation इसी के चलते तो बढ़ा. If you see the COVID restriction के बाद, if you see कि हुआ क्या क्या, मुझे तो कुछ अच्छा दिख नहीं रहा है. COVID restrictions के बाद we observe everything moving up. We see fuel rising moving up, we see weather climate moving up, we see wars coming up. And what are the things that came up basically? Why did these things happen? This thing happens because of three particular major identical crises, I would like to say. Now if you ask me what are the three particular major identical crises, here they are. Number one, government printed excess amount of money. आप कौन सा government बोलोगे? Will you say RBI or Fed? I will say both, because whatever Federal Reserve currency prints, the same thing RBI has to print. That's because, why is that so? Because Fed holds the reserve currency. कौन सा currency hold करता है? Reserve currency, correct? Due to that reserve currency, what happens is Fed prints money across the world, across America, so do RBI to generate अपना stability बनाने के लिए. अब what these nations have done is last 30 to 40 years में they haven't printed that much amount of money, जितना money इन लोगों ने 1 to 2 years में print out कर लिया. So that made a huge difference, and due to that particular difference, if you see, I would like to say that due to that particular difference, we are observing a stagnating decline position in interest rates. राइट मतलब किसी बैंक में यू हैव अ सेविंग्स अकाउंट इन अ बैंक, राइट, आई मीन यू हैव अ सेविंग्स अकाउंट एंड व्हाट यू सी इज, पहले आपको सेविंग्स अकाउंट में इंटरेस्ट मिलता था 4%, नाउ यू गेट अ सेविंग अकाउंट इंटरेस्ट ऑफ समथिंग अराउंड 2.3% ड्यूरिंग कोविड. मतलब इंटरेस्ट रेट्स हैज ड्रॉप्ड इंक्रीमेंटली, बहुत गिरा इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, राइट. ड्यू टू दोज इंटरेस्ट रेट्स फॉलिंग वी सॉ क्लैशेस in two great nations. Basically, we know Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine-Russia clashes were one of the great criteria which we observed in 2022, right? Beginning of the year, we saw huge clashes. अब ये क्रैश के चलते आप लोग बोल रहे हैं कि ये तो उन लोग के देश में हुआ, तो हम लोग के देश में इफेक्ट क्या हुआ? मतलब why are we Indians suffering due to their country's clash? I would like to give you a reason for that. See, what happened was we saw dangerous thing happening due to that particular crash. This is how the macroeconomy affects us. This is how the world affects us. This is how we are connected to the world. The reason is, see, whenever there was a war between Ukraine and Russia, the crude oil, this is the crude oil, price went up incrementally. The natural gas price went up incrementally. Every single price went up incrementally. No one was there to stop it. No one could have stopped it. Correct? And if you see, the main factor to bring up the entire case of inflation, that was just not crude oil, just not natural gas increment, but there was also something called the shortage. There was the shortage of semiconductors. Shortage of semiconductors, if you see, right? Shortage of semiconductors. Semiconductor मतलब वो चीज़ होता है जिससे हम लोग मोबाइल्स वगैरह बनाते हैं, कंपनी लोग मोबाइल बनाता है, कार्स रिपेयर होता है. तो इफ दिस थिंग इज़ अंडर शॉर्टेज, मतलब जितना लिमिटेड है उसका प्राइस बढ़ गया, उसके चलते मोबाइल वगैरह की प्राइस बढ़ गया, पेन ड्राइव्स का प्राइस बढ़ गया, कार्स का प्राइस बढ़ गया. एंड टू कीप अप विद दैट पर्टिकुलर प्राइस पीपल स्टार्टेड टेकिंग मोर लोन्स. जितना लोन हो गया आदमी लोग उतना डेट में चला गया, क्योंकि सैलरी उसके हिसाब से बढ़ नहीं रहा था. दैट वॉज द मेजर प्रॉब्लम एवरी सिंगल इंडिविजुअल इज वॉज हैविंग in that particular case. If I'm not wrong, every single individual is having the same problem right now as well, because many of the debts are not yet paid, right? And due to which we observe something called the RBI increased its repo rates incrementally. Repo rate, RBI increased its repo rate. Repo rate increase कर दिया RBI ने. From 2023 it increased its repo rate. Repo rate मतलब क्या होता है? Suppose bank is giving you 9.1% home loan interest, right? RBI is charging 6.65% repo rates, 6.50% right now repo rate is, और प्लस 2.50% जो भी इंटरेस्ट होता है, दिस इज द बैंक्स इंटरेस्ट, और ये RBI का डिपॉजिट होता है. मतलब RBI हैज़ द अथॉरिटी टू गिव द बैंक टू प्रिंट मनी. मतलब ये डोनेट करता है ना बैंक को, मतलब देता है, लेंट करता है. कौन सा रेट में लेंट करता है? दिस इज द रेपो रेट. मतलब जितना रेट बढ़ते गया उसके हिसाब से बैंक भी कस्टमर से उतना ही लेगा, राइट. Now, due to that particular factor, excessive repo rate के चलते आदमी लोगों ने खरीदना बंद कर दिया. जितना खरीदना बंद कर दिया, what we observed was a global economy slowdown. इकोनॉमी में स्लो डाउन हो गया. इफ़ यू ऑब्जर्व 2023, किसी से भी पूछ लोगे, लोकल दुकानदार हो गया, कहीं से भी जा जाएगा, दे विल टेल यू दैट द मार्केट इज़ वेरी मच sluggish. मीन्स मार्केट कुछ बिक नहीं रहा है, कुछ मतलब धंधा है नहीं. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर सेइंग कि मार्केट में कुछ भी बेच लो भाई, बिक नहीं रहा है. दिस इज द रीजन बिहाइंड इट. Because the global economic slowdown, how much percent it was? We observed a 2.8% slowdown in the entire global economy, right? Now, as I say, every single cause generates effects, and effects generate causes, right? Cause क्या करता है? Effect generate करता है, और वो effect दूसरा causes को rise देता है. This is what happened. The effect was inflation due to COVID. It had to happen because government printed incremental amount of money. And due to that particular incremental effect, it generates wars in the country. And due to that particular war in the country, different type of stagnating behavior came across the nations. And we saw rapid incremental valuation in all the sectors, right? We saw rapid incremental valuation. मतलब सब कुछ में दाम बढ़ गया. In 2023 to 2024, before July, we observed incremental prices. In July, why I'm saying July? Because after the month of July, we are observing certain decremental valuation in everything. We observe the GDP rate of India growing, and all those factors coming under certain places, right? So that is the main factor. Now, here is something I would like to share with every single person about market crash. Everyone thinks market crash में क्या होगा, market नीचे जाएगा या फिर ऊपर जाएगा. You have all those questions about inflations and all. I understand completely. We will be discussing on this particular video, on this particular topics, that what are they, how are they actually improving, right? So I would like to move on with a famous person's quote, that is Howard Marks. His name is Howard Marks. What does he says? Howard Marks says, to put it simply, intellectual humility means saying I am not sure. The other person could be right, or even might be wrong. I think it is an essential trait for investor. I know it is in the people I like to associate with. Right? He basically says that we should be sure that we do not know anything, rather than we should be sure we know anything. That means no statements that start with I don't know, I could be wrong, but ever got anyone into big trouble. Right? That's his statement. If we admit to uncertainty, we will investigate before we invest. That's the fact, because that's what great investors like Howard Marks states. Correct? Because this is what these people states. These people say that uncertainty is inevitable. Uncertainty is the game. No one can predict the markets. Predicting the markets is impossible. No one can predict the market. Yes, but everyone can stay prepared for the market crash which is upcoming. Everyone can stay prepared, but no one can predict the markets. Am I clear with it? That's what legendary Howard Marks says in his memos. Now, if you observe, just not Howard Marks, the legendary investor Peter Lynch says the same, explains the same views of his point. He says nobody can predict the interest rates, the future direction of the economy, or the stock market. Dismiss all such forecasts and concentrate on what's actually happening to the companies in which you have invested. Means, if you have actually invested in a company, let that investment be, and don't let rumors affect you. Rumors from all particular influencers and all affect you that you have to sell a stock or you have to buy a stock. मतलब आपको खरीदना है, बेचना है, कोई भी कुछ भी बोलते जाएगा. You should not depend on that, because no one can predict the interest rates. अब interest rates ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे आएगा, no one knows about it. No one knows the future direction, future economy कहाँ पर जाएगा. सबको तो लग रहा था 2022 में crash हुआ, कुछ नहीं हुआ. 2024 में everyone, even the great famous Robert Kiyosaki was saying there will be a crash in the month of March. Did it happen? No. And no one can predict the market. That's impossible, because it's a randomness of multiple things. So the best way, if you ask me, what should a person do, is a person should actually diversify their portfolio. Portfolio diversification is the best way. If you just simply select uncorrelated assets, right? Uncorrelated assets, 10 to 15 uncorrelated assets, you are under safe arguments, that I would say. And that's what I am doing, and I am recommending you to do the same, because even I don't know where the market's gonna go. But one thing I know, if I am prepared, right? If I am prepared for the market, no matter whichever direction it goes, if it goes up, I'm okay. If it goes down, still I'm okay. Then you will not make huge losses, but on the long run, you will definitely make profits. Thank you.